Real Estate with Jess and
Brandon.
So today we're talking about what makes a good investment property. So first of all, definitely the cash flow. The numbers have to work. You want to make sure, obviously, that the income that you're generating from it is going to cover the mortgage and taxes and whatever else there is. Leave some room for repairs on the property and all of that sort of thing. You want to make sure everything's covered and hopefully then some, and make some income off the property as well. So cash flow is definitely number one thing that people are looking out for when they're looking for a rental property. And speaking with a mortgage agent, of course, and crunching all of the numbers is key if you're getting a mortgage. What are some things you think are important?
Yeah, and just on the mortgage thing too, I think with lenders, depending on like Scotiabank, CIBC, TD, whatever, because they're all different, but I do think they're starting to consider like 50% of the rental income or something is what I've heard. Some maybe 75. So like if you have a lease already in place and it's this much per month, then they might consider like this percentage and put that as part of your income when giving you or qualifying you for the mortgage. I hope I didn't say that wrong, but I think that's right.
Oh yeah, that's true.
And then when it comes to the house though, the top things that come to mind is like usually a double wide driveway, so you don't have like tenant in front, tenant behind you, and like one can't get out.
If it's a multi-unit.
Yeah, exactly. So
thing. Parking's huge, yeah.
Yeah, and pretty much everyone that I've helped who wants to have a good rental is usually a house that needs to have like main level and then the basement. So first thing comes to mind is whether or not you're okay with it being a legal accessory dwelling, registered with the city of Peterborough or not. And so if it's not, then there's obviously risks associated with that. If the tenant ever calls the city and they come out and they're like, oh, you got to remove the upper cabinets, sometimes they do that, or the stove, or cap off the plumbing and do all this and that and place a work order on title, and you have to deal with it now. So there's a clear risk if it's not legal. If it is legal, the house is going to cost more, probably like 30 to 40K just for that piece of paper saying it's a legal basement. If I guess, it's what I have seen. So that's something to consider. And then the house itself, how many bedrooms the house has. The more bedrooms, the more rental income usually you can get. Speaking to from like someone who I know who owns some rental properties, a lot of houses are not really designed, like they're not designed to have two families in it, like a single family home. So then therefore sound can be kind of a problem. Like you can really hear it in a basement on a lot of houses, unless it's a purpose-built duplex or something. It's going to be probably something to think about. Therefore, if you have tenants with dogs or pets or a lot of banging and running around, kids, disturbances, it's not really designed to be perfectly soundproof.
Right.
But if that's okay, then you're looking at like wide driveway, separate entrance, usually a side door. A lot of like 1950s, 60s, 70s homes can have that, but then their ceiling height's not really high enough sometimes to pass the amount of height you need to get it to be a legal basement, because there's like certain height requirements to hit. I've heard like 6'9" or 7 feet or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. I'm just going off memory there. So ceiling height in the basement, side door, double wide driveway, laundry. If there's laundry on the main level and laundry in the basement, a lot of houses have a hard time with the laundry part because the main level to put a laundry up can be challenging. Like you don't have enough space for that. Or you like have the two levels and you go down and then the laundry is shared and then there's an exterior door right there and that's kind of laundry for both. So stuff like that. Anything else that you would say?
Well, some places are limited in terms of what you can do and if you can convert them into like a legal secondary suite. So I think if someone's thinking about doing that, they're going to want to check with the building department at the city of Peterborough, if it's in Peterborough, just to make sure that what they're planning on doing is feasible and that it checks all the boxes there, which you can always reach out to them. They're really good there for asking questions. And I think that, having it compliant is really important because I've seen places where, like a duplex, for example, I went into where they made it into a triplex by like adding an addition onto like a room in I don't know. It was wild. So that I would be very worried about if I owned that property, like for insurance, for the safety of the people living there, for resale, for lots of different reasons. So you just want to make sure that everything is up to par, for the most part, safe, and that there's egress windows for people to get out of, if it is a basement apartment, that people aren't in a potentially dangerous unit, regardless of whether they're in the basement or not. It's always nice too to have it in a, somewhat good neighborhood if you can, that you can kind of have a wide variety of tenants for, whether it's just like a single working professional, a family, a young couple. And keeping up on maintenance is important, but also finding a house that's easy to keep up with the maintenance. So some people won't like rental properties or investment properties if they're on well and septic, because that's a whole other thing, a whole other liability. They don't know what the tenants might be doing to the septic system. They can't really monitor that.
Exactly.
So making sure that it's basically easy to take care of for the landlord.
Yeah.
So they kind of know what things to anticipate. Like maybe it will need a new furnace eventually, a new roof, minor repairs like plumbing and things like that. But the more there is to the house, the more there is obviously to maintain.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe being close to for transit is if they need like bus route, if they don't have a vehicle. But the other thing too, I'd say with like location is it's usually not good to get a rental property that's in a really nice area because it's going to cost you more to buy that house.
Right, yeah.
Nice area. And then in terms of like cap rates, which would be like, how much rental income you get minus expenses, you have your profit, your net operating income, your NOI. You divide that into the purchase price, you get like a percentage, like cap rate. So the higher that number, the better. And if your purchase price is really high because you bought a house in a really nice area, then you're not going to usually have enough rental income to offset maybe how much your mortgage is going to be now
for
because
sure,
you
yeah.
bought at such a high purchase price. So you want to make sure that it's like not a sketchy area. It's going to be hard for resale, like, certain streets, maybe usually in downtown cores or whatnot, but in a good area with maybe a good amount of turnover. Like in Peterborough, I'd say like South End Peterborough is like awesome first time buyer location. It's not sketchy, lower price point compared to average, like
Right.
600, you can get some for 500, 550 pretty easily, but it's not sketchy. So getting something like that satisfies all the other criteria, which can actually be hard in certain houses in that area, but is probably your best bet, because then that cap rate thing I said makes sense. Lower price point, less mortgage, so you can hopefully cash flow, make more per month off the income. So yeah, enough bedrooms, parking, safety stuff with like whether it's legal or not, up to you, and ceiling height in the basement, how laundry is done, and just know too that if you do those things where you like add laundry on the main level, plumbing, venting for the dryer, all that stuff, that's money, right? And you're changing something that's not really designed for that, like you're making a closet into a laundry, or you're taking it, maybe you're putting it in part of a bedroom. So when you go to sell that house, if the next person doesn't want it to be a rental, that could be kind of annoying because they have to deal with that. And they have to convert it back, which could lead to renos, and then one leads into another where you're doing flooring to fix it, but now you're doing this, and they're like, that's too much. Like, I don't even want to look at this house because I'd rather just be a normal.
Oh yeah, sometimes when people convert their property to like two dwellings from a single family home, it does impact the resale for the next buyer. So having it easily able to turn back is sometimes nice if that's the route that they're going to take, depending. But I've seen that a lot.
Exactly. Always thinking about the future, right? Like, am I making something here that's not really designed? Or in maybe some areas, rentals are just not that common. So people might not want it to, the investors might not be looking in that area. And so then therefore, if you keep it as like a rental when you're selling it, the people buying it are not investors. So they're just looking at all these things they got to change on it.
It limits the buyer pool.
Yeah,
for sure.
Limits the buyer pool is a good way to describe it. So, having an agent that kind of knows all that, like I try not to work with investors personally because of like it's just not the niche I'm focused on. There's like a lot of reasons I can kind of explain, but having an agent that's really good in that kind of buyer and that kind of product would be really smart, especially if you're a first-time investor, like buying your first rental property, because they really need to know what to look for, and to, like, for instance, like if I'm looking for a rental, I'm going right to one of my close friends who has enough properties that I could be like, hey man, what do you think of this? Or like, what about that? Even as an agent with as much stuff as I know now about buying houses, I would 1,000% be calling him to be like, what do you think rent is here? What do you think, all that stuff. And one thing he said to me too that is helpful and I think is smart is when you know how much, like a lot of people think, how much can I rent for? Like maximum.
Right.
He's like, don't go for max, lower it a bit so you can get more interest, more people inquiring, and you can be more selective about the tenant you want to have in the house, because he's like, that's everything. Like if you max it out, they might leave in 6 months, can find something that they're paying a better price on, or they're not happy with it, or they're complaining more maybe because they're kind of getting ripped off with the price or something. So maybe charging less and being selective about the tenant is probably good advice, I'd say, too, if you're going to go into rentals. Yeah.
Great points.
I'm going to go buy a rental. You want to do it together?
Sure.